you'll always be.
We will stand and fight here. We can't stay here alive. Then let us stay here dead.
Welcome to Desert Dispatches. I'm Crispin Thomas, the stand-up historian. I'm here with my broadcasting colleague,
Richard Pinches, aka the Lame Rat.
Now, we're very excited because, as you can see, we're fully kitted up in desert gear. I'm in Desert Africa Corps gear with my M40 cap. Richard here in his helmet, and we're ready to go. We're going to be talking about kit, and most excitingly, later on in this broadcast, guns.
Guns, stay
Richard,
tuned.
Can you take this away, please?
Oh, you want me to take the piss?
Well, you are anyway, but yeah, that was going to fall on the floor. Anyway, let's move on. So I'm in my Africa Corps soldier stuff. I've got my M40 field cap. Now, I probably far prefer, Richard, to be wearing this instead of my Steyhelm, which is much heavier and much less wieldy. But if I was in a slit trench, the British were shelling me with a 6-pounder, I'd probably prefer to have this on my head, don't you think?
So that's a much better design. This is the standard British tin helmet. You'll notice that it gives no protection to the ears.
See, I've got ear protection.
Yeah, but both of these, if you're in the heat of the sun, they cook your brain. So that's why we wear caps at other times. But there's very little protection to high explosive from the M40 cap.
Yeah, so let's just put this back on. So I've also got my felled blouse, my Africa Corps blouse, my lovely shorts, and my... Thank you. Oh, this is my dresser. And my
Germans have got to be dressed properly, so you can't let the side down. I think at this point it's worth mentioning the British KD khaki drill shorts that were issued for tropical use in the desert. Whilst they were fantastically comfortable and cool, they would have meant that the legs were susceptible to desert sores, which we've spoken about previously. In the desert, there's lots of small rocks, but also scrub and very spiky thorn bushes that could easily scratch. But the alternative British Army issue was the long trouser battle dress BD issue wool serge trousers, which were renowned for being very itchy and uncomfortable, but they were much thicker, and the Germans actually thought that they were far better quality than their standard issue thinner trousers. But the Allies would have only worn their trousers probably when it was colder at night for the extra warmth. Now, the Germans also had shorts, but they actually tended to wear long trousers often when going into battle, just to prevent the desert sores. So the shorts would have been when they were relaxing back at base, for example. There was also a version of the British KD shorts which were adaptable. They had turn-ups which could be taken down to just below the knee. These were comically known as Bombay Bloomers.
I would have a great coat. We haven't got one of those. Obviously my goggles, but I'm particularly pleased that I've got my Brutbeutel, which is this piece of kit, which has got tangled up here. Yeah, so this is the Brutbeutel. This would hold my bread. And as a soldier, I might have a variety of these with my food in. I'd also have my Fel de Flesh, my flask, but my most favourite piece, Richard, my most favourite piece is the Kochgeschirr.
You love saying
Yeah,
that,
this is
don't
the Kochgeschirr. This is my mess tin in which I would cook up all my sausage. So anyway, what have you got over there?
So I've got the standard 37 pattern webbing here, made out of canvas. This is a water bottle, also known as a water bottle. I have got a very useful First World War pattern wire cutter here because there is a lot of barbed wire in that there desert. I've also got the webbing pouches which go here, and they may contain a variety of things. They may even contain extra Bren gun magazines, which we'll come to later on. But I've also very excitingly got my 17-inch of Sheffield steel 1907 pattern sword bayonet. This goes on the end of my rifle.
And they don't like it up them.
Evidently they don't like it up them, especially 17 inches.
No, absolutely.
So that's my webbing.
Now, while you're talking about your gun pouches, I might, if I was carrying an MP40, and we're very excitingly going to come onto the weapons in a minute, I've got my pouches for my ammunition as well. And I might be carrying a drum of 50 rounds for my MG42 gunner as well. All very exciting stuff. Just before we move on to the weapons, Richard, we've got something quite special here. We've got your father's hat from the desert, haven't we?
So this is actually a replica of my father's hat, but if you can see here, typical of a soldier of the period, he would take a picture of his sweetheart. This is a picture of my mother, Helen. They were sort of sweethearts before the war. She was helping the war effort herself because she was actually working in a munitions factory back in her hometown, making armoured piercing shells, which you might imagine could have been used in the desert to help my father's conflict.
So, Richard, we've got the rifles here. I've got the German carbine, the KAR-98. What have you got?
I've got the classic Lee Enfield SMLE #1 Mark III Star 303.
And, of course, this is a far better rifle, it being German engineering.
Well, there's an argument there.
Right.
So this is a short magazine Lee Enfield, and it's short not because of the small magazine. It's actually a 10-round magazine, unlike your 5 over there.
Oh, I feel so inferior.
This is actually a short. It's called short because it's a shorter rifle than the previous model. It will. It's got the Lee bolt, which is iconic because it allows you to do this.
Yeah, but I can do that with this.
Have a go.
Okay, let's see who can fire fast.
Let's have a shoot off.
5 rounds, and you can count.
Well, I'd like to think so.
Yeah, good. Right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, I'm not even pulling my trigger, and I can see that my bolt is not going to move nearly as quickly as yours.
But I'm on target.
I wasn't even looking at the target.
Yeah, but you were just cycling around, so you're cheating.
Oh, okay.
Never trust
What,
a
you
German.
want me to put...
Well, the idea is...
No,
look
it's
how-
blatantly, this takes a lot longer than that rifle. Blatantly.
SMLE, affectionately known as Smelly.
Right, okay. Fair enough. Any other distinguishing features between the two of these? They made millions of these, didn't they?
Yep, and the Lee Enfield this is a World War I deactivated version. These were used all throughout the war and post-war. Later became the #4, highly reliable, and I've actually got a live firing version of this that I shoot at Bisley. Great weapon. It looks brilliant.
I think if you talk to some of, I was talking to a modern day major in the army recently, and I said to him, out of all the World War II weapons, what would you have? And he said, no doubt, a Lee Enfield. If you got hit with one of those, game over. Long range, rapid firing, very reliable.
Yeah, it's worth noting that it's a 303. This is the same #7 round that they use in the Brain Gun, the Vickers, and the Lewis machine gun. All the same bullet.
Okay, let's move on to some machine guns.
What have you got in your hands?
Well, this is an MP40 followed up the MP38 made by Schmeiser, but this wasn't made by Schmeiser. 20 rounds in the chamber, rapid fire. I've actually fired one of these live. In fact, I've fired a couple of them. It is the most stable platform you can use. 9mm, a common round in the German army. Just a fantastic piece of kit. Manufacturing cost 2 or 3 times that of the Sten.
Ah, the iconic Sten.
But the Sten, sadly, was not represented in the desert, was it?
No, so the Sten is a brilliant weapon for its cost and its value. Also takes the 9mm round, the 9x19 Parabellum. We mentioned Operation Compass ages ago, and although we captured 130,000 prisoners, we also captured a lot of ammunition, which included the 9mm Parabellum round, which the Sten uses. But the Sten was only trialled in North Africa. The open bolt mechanism was not popular for ingress of sand. There is definitely one recorded use of it in the SAS operational diaries, that big thick book, which I've had the privilege of reading. They did at least use it once, but it's very rare in the desert. The preferred SMG is the Thompson. This is American made, sold to Britain under the Lend-Lease arrangement. This is based on the weapon that was designed after the First World War, when they thought they might need weapons for trench clearing. So I would call this a spray and pray. I mean, it has got a sight, so is the MP40, so is the Sten gun. But really, I think it's a spray and pray. This is a different round. This is the 45 ACP, bigger, thicker, heavier slug. It comes in a 20 round, a 30 round, or the 50 iconic round mag, which is basically what the gangsters in Chicago in the 1920s would have called a Chicago typewriter.
But that 20 round mag, literally, if you held your finger on the trigger, it would last 2 seconds.
Yeah, but you're not taught to fire that way. You're taught to just do little squirts.
Right. And so how many little squirts could you have?
It depends on how many squirts you want to have.
Excellent. So, I mean, one of the cooler things I've got on my German weapon here is I can press it down and I can make it much smaller. So if I'm in a little tank, like Gruber from LOLO, I can stow this away.
Okay, you've got one up in me in that one. I can't do that one with this one. But if this feels really good in your hands. And we mentioned the Sten. This would cost about 10 times as much as the Sten would cost. The joke for the Sten was that the 30 rounds of the magazine had greater value than the actual machine gun itself.
I've got a round here. Sorry to lean down a bit, but there you
So
go.
yeah, this is the iconic 9mm gun. This is the 9mm cartridge, Parabellum. And Parabellum, when I first started using inert rounds in my Sten, I thought the Parabellum meant something to do with the shape of the bullet, but it's a 9x19 Parabellum, which is actually Latin. Do you remember the Latin?
Something war. I can't remember.
So it comes from the phrase "si vis pacem, Parabellum." If you want peace, make war. So basically, 9mm bullet here means make war.
So just to sum up a minute, that round would fit in my MP40,
Yep.
would fit in your Sten,
Yep.
but it wouldn't fit in
No.
the Thompson.
This would fit the Luger, which you're about to see.
So actually, bit of a foxhole there, bit of a rat hole. Shall we move on to pistols?
Let's move on to pistols, whilst I've got a 9mm in my hand.
So Richard, I feel I've just come from the Wild West, but I haven't.
No.
I've come from the Western Front, maybe?
I think so, dressed like that.
I've come from the Western Desert, actually.
I'm the one with the revolvers, the 6-shooters.
I'm the one with the cartridge pistol. In my left hand here is the Luger 8-shot magazine. And in my right hand, the Walther P38 8-shot magazine. Both beautifully engineered. The Walther P38 given to every infantryman in the German army. Very expensive, Adolf. And the Luger given to officers, or if I wanted to, I could buy one.
Yeah, and also they're very coveted by soldiers throughout the World War II to try and capture a Luger as a memento. Again, that's the 9mm round for your Luger.
And
Stick that up your spout and do something with it.
well, I don't know whether I can stick it up my spout. I'm not sure how this comes. This is an original Luger, but I think in the deactivation process, it has been... I don't think I can take the cartridge out, I'm afraid.
No, magazine.
So there we are. Interesting about deactivation, we've got the UK deactivation, haven't we? Which is whereby some of the parts worked. And when we had the MP40 and the Thompson earlier, both of those cock and fire. And then we have the Europeans jumped in, didn't they, before Brexit? And they made us weld up all our lovely weapons. So there's a bit of an explanation. Obviously, in the collector's market, if you've got a product which cocks and fires, rather like this P38 does, then it's more valuable than something that's been welded up.
Yeah, unfortunately, UK deactivation does make them a bit of just a lump of metal. You can't dry fire, you can't cock it, you can't strip it. So I've got in my hand a Webley 45. This is a Mark 6. This is a Webley 38. This is actually a police issue stub nose because it's got smaller nose for putting inside a pocket. Very sturdy. These are both over 100 years old. They look and feel as though they were machined only yesterday. Great bit of engineering. And allegedly you can... Oh, these were officers issue only. The old British Army grunt doesn't get a pistol. He gets his Lee Enfield. These are officers issue only.
And now, a quick word about our sponsor, Western Desert Battlefield Tours. If you'd like to witness where these weapons were used, walk the ground of heroes, and really experience the heat, the dust, and the grime of the desert, why not book one of our tours at westerndesert.co.uk? Visit the site, book your tour, and have an experience that you will never forget.
Join me, Richard Pinches, on an unforgettable battlefield experience. Come and walk in the desert and see for yourself the tough terrain fought over all those years ago. From the rugged hills in Tunisia to the open desert plains, I can take you to the famous battle sites for you to experience firsthand. Walk in the footsteps of Alexander the Great. Dive into Cleopatra's pool and have an ice cold in Alexandria. Go to westerndesert.co.uk and send an email for more details.
So, big excitement now. Let's move on to some massive firepower. So, Richard, I really think in this one I'm going to, what's that card game the kids play? Top Trumps.
Top trumps.
I'm going to top trump you here with my MG42, Hitler's Buzzsaw, 1,200 rounds a minute, one of the most feared weapons on the battlefield. Tripod mount, 3-men platoon. I've got little drums of ammunition here, which I can carry 50 rounds in there. My belt, 250 rounds, and I can change my barrel on here in 6 seconds.
That's going some, and I have to say, the rate of fire was a terrifying prospect for the infantry to come across. This Bren gun only has a fire rate of 500 rounds a minute, and it only has a rather puny 30-round magazine, although some did have a round magazine. But the infantry pouches you saw earlier, this is what your rest of your platoon might be carrying. You are carrying the spare ammo. 500 rounds, known to be very accurate. Even if you wanted to get a little spread, you were told to give your Bren a little wiggle to get a better spread. Much loved though by the British infantry because it's so reliable. The higher rate of rounds with the MG means you've got to change your barrel more often. Whereas at least the Bren, you don't have to change quite so often. And you can change it quickly, but not 6 seconds.
And just, I think you made the point, I'm not sure, the same round as the Lee Enfield rifle.
Yeah. Again, it's a 303 number 7 ball. Very reliable, easy just to swap round between your rifle and all the machine guns in the British Army.
And, you know, in those 37 pattern pouches, a lot of the infantrymen would carry one of these for the Bren gunner, wouldn't they? One of these magazines.
No, 4.
4, yes, but they wouldn't always have one, would they? I mean, in the paras they did. You know, in Arnhem they all dropped in with them.
Yeah.
But not every infantryman in the desert carried one, did they?
No, it all depends on what their action was.
Yeah. But suffice it to say, there was plenty of these rounds around.
Yeah, and both of these work with sustained fire tripods, so you can contain a field of fire, so you don't have to change your elevation. But if you've got advancing infantry, what you got to do is move the butt across left and right transversely to cover your field of fire. And enfilade fire may be worth just pretty briefly talking about enfilade. For instance, on Normandy, on the attack of the beaches, it was a well-trained machine gun crew would not be firing directly ahead. You fire across. So you've got a machine gun pit. You are covering the beach in front of your neighbouring machine gun pit because you can get more effective fire by shooting down the beach, not shooting directly in forward. So you've got to trust that the machine gun pit next to you is covering the advancing Tommies in front of you, and you are covering the Tommies in front of them. So it's a symbiotic relationship. Enfilade fire.
Should we go to some bombs?
Bombs? Le boom?
So, Richard, I'm going to mash some potatoes.
And I'm going to have some pineapple chunks.
That's known as the Mills bomb, isn't it?
Number 36 Mills bomb, your classic hand grenade.
And this is the German version, slightly different than Richard's. Richard's is a frag grenade. Those of you who play Call of Duty will be well impressed by that. So when it explodes, it blows a nasty selection of shards of metal, ripping apart its receiver, whereas this is a percussion grenade. And once I've unwound the end here and taken out the cap, I've got 10 seconds to throw it, and it blows up, giving a wave of destruction and hopefully killing anything in its path.
Yeah, so that uses percussive force to blow somebody's brains out if it's close to it. The 10-second delay means that, and you do see this happen in films, sometimes a stick grenade can actually be thrown back to the enemy. Mills bomb, number 36 Mills bomb, has got a 4-second delay. You're not going to get a chance to throw that back. This works on the very well-known design of you pull the split pin out here. As long as you keep your thumb on the lever, which is known as the spoon, it's perfectly safe. Once you let go of the spoon, which is under a sprung release, let go, it flies off, and the primary percussion is struck in the center of the grenade, which starts the 4-second timer. It fragments not into the chocolate bar shapes here, it actually fragments into thousands of pieces. But the relevant point here is that its explosive radius is typically further than you can throw it. So it's great to throw into a room or into a trench, or if you're in the open field, you've got to hide behind a wall or behind a vehicle. Otherwise, you're going to get caught by your own shrapnel.
I wonder if we had room and we stood side by side, whether I could, I mean, obviously these are two different throwing techniques. I'd throw this like this.
So that uses a fulcrum method where you use a little bit of physics to get a bit more of a flick to it.
Yeah.
This you bowl more like a cricket
And so
ball.
which one do you think could be thrown further?
There's a big argument about this, and they do say you can throw the stick grenade further. I've actually tried this with my son at a reenactment, and we could only throw them equal distances.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic, Richard. I mean, it's great that we've had all these weapons here in the studio and to be able to show them to everybody. Absolutely fantastic episode, which I've enjoyed. If you've enjoyed this episode, please like and subscribe on the link below.
We hope you've enjoyed this little selection of weapons. We've certainly enjoyed presenting them to you. Like, subscribe, join the Patreon for more in-depth conversations about desert and all the machinations in the campaign in North Africa. Thank you for watching.
See you in the next episode.
TTFN.
More tea, Ginger.
Yes, please.